welcome back to the IMNerd podcast. We are here for episode 34, and today we're going to be talking about a ton of shit, all different types of things related to nerd culture, of course, and we also have some talks about Thanksgiving, since this is the podcast before Thanksgiving, and we will be taking a break this week after this episode drops, because both of us will be with our families, as I hope that all of you are enjoying a ton of unhealthy food and eating until you are engorged, having a great old time just sitting on the couch and probably watching TV, because that's what I'll be doing.
Our families almost tried to make it to this podcast, and it happened today.
Oh.
I got a call, I want to say 5 a.m. or something. So I guess 5 a.m. this morning or whatever. And
we're on
basically,
the East Coast, by the way.
Yeah, East Coast. Basically, saying, oh, blah, blah, blah. We're going to have a birthday dinner for mommy tonight. And her birthday was 2 or 3 days ago. But anyway, they put together and planned this birthday dinner for her on Sunday. And then I was on the phone with them, and I'm like, well, this is this Sunday? Yeah. Well, it's 5 a.m. this Sunday right now, right? What if I had plans today?
Yeah, fuck those, I guess.
They're going through it, and I was like, well, I record the podcast tonight. And once again, oh, you do that today? I was like, how do you guys, every week, every single week, people are like, blah, 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 we're doing this thing at, Sunday, 7 o'clock. And I'm like, that's exactly the time. Every week I tell you that I record this podcast.
Literally every week for the last 4 months, we've been recording on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. And it is so shocking to me. It's funny you say that, because I actually had a similar experience very recently where one of my friends wanted to come over because we haven't seen each other in a bit. And basically this week, he had to reschedule twice. So we were like, all right, we'll shoot for Sunday, but it has to be earlier in the day, because at 7 I'm recording the podcast. This is something that I do every week. He's known this. Somehow it came up again today, and he hit me up at I don't know, let's say 5 or 6 p.m. I was like, hey, what are you doing? And I was like, I am watching some Smash Bros stuff, but I'm also gearing up to record the podcast in a little bit. And he was like, oh, I forgot about that. When are you done that? And I was like, well, after we record it, it has to be edited. So it will be a while before I am free again. And by the time I'm free, don't forget, I also have work tomorrow. So I will not be chilling with you today. That is not happening.
Yeah. Listen, friend. I don't know if you know this, but the podcast comes out every Monday.
It does.
So if I'm recording it on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't know. People, I always say, it's weird how people create their own reality of certain events, or they just rewrite it. Like how your brother and now your family members are confused on the fact that you do this thing every Sunday, even though by now they should just know it's been months and you've been consistently doing this. We really haven't missed any opportunities to record when we, were healthily able to. So it's just funny that people still don't realize
it comes
that.
up. It funnily comes up pretty often. Just anything will happen, blah, blah, blah. We're doing this thing today. I'm like, hey guys, just like last week.
Yeah, same thing. Sunday nights are taken. They're not a thing. But before we get into the actual episode, let me go down our Patreon real quick for the people who are currently subscribed. We have 16 people on Patreon. So I want to give you guys a shout out as always. We have Connie, Austin, Leon, Quest, Garen, Xavier, Hylian, TCG Automotive, Silver Chronic, Tyree Tinsley, Dimitri Barnes, Alexander Brissett, Vinny Casello, Dominic Roberts, Giovanni Avelos, and Game Freak Yoshi. Shout out to all of you who are on our Patreon enjoying exclusive content. We drop a special video that is only on Patreon every month, as well as other perks where you can duel Kenny and I, and we have to get back to that. Hope maybe sometime in December we'll schedule our next duel a patrons session, but because I know we had one scheduled for October, and that month again was a wash. But
yeah, it was.
Yeah, but we want to get back to that, and then we have other perks too that you guys can check out on Patreon/IMNerd podcast, and it should come right up. But yeah, if you want to join that, and then you'll also get access to our Discord where people vote on the topics that we actually speak about on the podcast. They can also vote on what we talk about for the Patreon exclusive episodes, which is how the episode about cheating in Yu-Gi-Oh came to be, because that was requested from some of our patrons. So
yes, sir.
Through Discord. We were not going to originally talk about that on our own accord, but they asked and we delivered.
That's right.
On the other side, we do have a listener letter about our last episode on
One
Shang-Chi.
sec. Before the listener letter, there's a lot of letters that come in, and I felt it's time to address it. Listen, folks, I know that I don't have a green screen. Let me just give you guys a quick overview of my life situation.
Yes.
I mentioned this before, but my house The corner of my house had a bunch of water damage. My walls got like all torn up. The insurance company is trying to fuck me. They're not trying to offer me money, my insurance money to get the walls replaced. My room that my setup is normally in is completely under construction. So the room I'm in now is literally a tuna can. If you can see me, the wall behind me, I can touch. I'm sitting on a bed, not a comfortable gaming chair that I spent my money on. I'm sitting on a bed. This wall, the bed hits the wall. I can touch the bed with my hand. I mean, the wall with my hand from where I'm sitting. And the other wall is literally right behind my computer monitor. I can touch the other wall while still being on this bed. I'm in a tuna can. I can buy a green screen right now, but I'd have nowhere to put it. So as soon as my life situation and housing situation gets back on the straight and narrow, I'll get myself a green screen. But for now, maybe I'll just get a green shirt.
Yeah, everyone has been asking about you getting a green screen, but it's actually bigger than that. So originally when we started the podcast, you were in your own room, you know, you had your own setup, really nice, everything, gaming chair, you know, the whole shebang. And then, you know, fucking roof problems happened, which caused you to have to relocate into a new room that is not really a room, but more of like a closet as you're using your setup. So until that is resolved, until the roofer comes and fixes your shit up, there will be no green screen for you. But the second you get back to your own room, this will be resolved. So that's true. I also want to say that day.
I do appreciate everybody, I guess, writing in and asking about it, because that, you know, it shows that you guys care about the quality of the show. So I do appreciate you guys voicing your concerns, and I just wanted to let everybody know, you know, what the deal is.
Yeah, I do appreciate that too, because almost every week we do get at least one or two people on Facebook who are just like, what do we have to do to get Kenny a green screen? And it's just like, all right, you guys seem to really want to help. Even last week, someone recommended that we start a GoFundMe for it, or he was going to start a GoFundMe for it. And I was like, damn, we're about to crowdfund a green screen. Like, I don't know if it's that serious, but you know, don't worry about it. We will have one soon.
Yes, yes.
All right. So I want to read this listener letter. It is in response to the Shang-Chi episode. So before I read it, if you guys do have anything you want to say about any of the episodes that we've recorded, or just anything that you want us to talk about on the show and read out loud, write into IMNerdPodcast@gmail.com, and we may read it aloud here, as long as it's nerd related and not something that's like crazy wild or offensive or some shit like that. But even if it is, we might still, because that's what kind of people we are. All right. So Vincent says, listen to the Shang-Chi pod earlier today. In regards to the email I sent in about Death Note, I was hoping you saved that for the actual Death Note episode, because I feel it just flows smoother that way versus bringing it up on a non-Death Note episode. So he had written in, it was the listener that we mentioned we would read at the beginning of the podcast before, but it was about Death Note, and we haven't actually recorded our Death Note episode yet. That's coming up soon, probably in December, because I plan to rewatch all of Death Note, but first I need to get through Cowboy Bebop before I do that. So I want to rewatch Death Note before I actually do a podcast on Death Note, just so that I'm like, everything's fresh. I just want it to be super fresh. It's my favorite anime of all time, my second favorite manga. I don't want to like be forgetting stuff as I'm talking about it, or just have the events out of order, which tends to happen a lot when you haven't seen something in a while. So but yeah, he says, as far as the Shang-Chi talk, or Shang-Chi, I already forgot how to say it. Look at that. I'm obviously biased, but hearing you and Kenny talk about it has raised my opinion of the movie. I watched the movie when it came out, so it's been a while, but my biggest criticisms were the story was very lore-based and was so slow after the first fight on the bus. Awkwafina's character, Katie, didn't feel too necessary of a character, and lastly, the emotional depth of the characters wasn't displayed enough to my liking. I can see how the movie can appeal to all audiences due to the choreography, but growing up Asian and being exposed to Jackie Chan, Jet Li, and even anime fights like Sasuke and Naruto versus Momoshiki and Boruto, the choreography in Shang-Chi was ancillary, but it wasn't enough to make the movie great. Katie's character clearly was there to provide comedic relief. Oh, somebody's beeping. Katie's character was clearly there to provide comedic relief, but if you've seen Crazy Rich Asians, Awkwafina was funny in that too, but now it feels like she's just being typecasted for that very specific trope. See, I haven't actually seen Crazy Rich Asians, but I did either. I do know that she's from that movie, or she's in that movie as well, and she probably plays the exact same character, which may start to get a little offensive, because if she's just playing like a caricature of Asian people, then I can see how that would be problematic, but we could talk about that in a second. Vincent goes on to say, I get that that's a very common thing with actors, voice actors for anime, and maybe entertainment in general, but since Crazy Rich Asians, there's been a movement for more Asian representation in Hollywood, with a lot of comments from actors saying something like, we want to show we're more than just stereotypes, we're people and we can be great actors too. Since hearing those comments, I've had exceedingly high and probably unrealistic expectations for Asian actors, and to me, Shang-Chi couldn't seal the deal of displaying those sentiments. Well,
Real
I think
quick.
the go ahead.
Oh, my bad. I thought the email was done. No,
No,
go
it's
ahead.
not. Okay. Well, I think the actors all played their roles well enough. There was only one or two moments where I felt my heartstrings being tugged at. Had Shang-Chi had some internal monologue or some kind of emotional response to his dad dying, it would have made a huge difference. What I wanted from Wen Wu was a line like, "Of course you don't understand. You don't know how it feels to lose the love of your life." If the movie had a couple scenes slash lines, like I mentioned, I think it would have completely solidified or solif is he saying solidified? I'm not sure there. It would have completely solidified those characters and made the movie a good 9 out of 10. I originally gave the movie a 6 out of 10, but I now think it's a solid 7.5 due to a lot of the remarks you and Kenny made. I'm also not the biggest MCU fan and have only seen about 8 of the movies, so a lot of those hidden nuggets flew over my head. Anywho, I'm glad to hear you're back to normal, and I'm looking forward to future episodes. Vincent.
Nice. Thank you very much, Vince. On a note of Crazy Rich Asians, I was going to say, I haven't seen that either. The only thing I, off the top of my head, know about it is I think Constance Wu is in that. If I remember, she's the actor from Fresh Off the Boat, and I love that show, and I think she's an amazing actor in that show.
Okay.
But as far as I know, she's in Crazy Rich Asians, but I haven't seen
it, and I kind of want to. I remember when it first came out, I wanted to see it because I love opulence in general. Most people who know me know this about me, but I just like opulent things, and seeing all of these literally crazy rich, Asian people just being that seems cool as hell to me. And the previews all looked really funny. I love Asian culture, as everyone knows. I love anime and stuff like that. So but yeah, I definitely wanted to see the movie, and I just kind of forgot, and I maybe was hoping that it would come to streaming services, and it probably is on something now.
I do think it is on something. I recall seeing the thumbnail on one of the services.
Yeah, and I have every streaming service, so if it's on one of them, I'm going to find it and watch it. That seems like I think it came out around this time anyway, whenever it did come out years ago. So I feel like it'd be good to watch around Christmas time. It seems like one of those kind of movies.
Yeah.
So but yeah, so as far as some of the things that Vincent addressed in his listener letter about Shang-Chi, so he wasn't too impressed by it, and he brings up Sasuke and Naruto versus Momoshiki. Now, I'm not sure if that's a fair comparison because one, that's very recent. Like that pretty much is like one of the latest fights in all of Naruto, especially well animated ones. You could tell that the budget for that fight was insane, right? Like that's probably the best looking fight in all of Naruto, period. Like everything Naruto, like literally everything, that is the absolute best fight. So you're comparing the absolute best of Naruto, which is also recent, to Shang-Chi, which is a live action. I don't know if like that is a fair comparison to say like the choreography from Shang-Chi, comparing it to Sasuke and Naruto versus Momoshiki. I don't really like that. I think that there is definitely you're not comparing apples to apples there.
In general, I'm biased for anime, but anime just tends to have way better fight scenes than anything I've seen live action. Yeah. Anime fight scenes like we won't talk about it much today because Fraser hasn't finished the anime or gotten a chance to watch the Netflix version yet. But I just binged the Cowboy Bebop Netflix, and we'll definitely do an episode on that. But I'll avoid talking about anything about the show except for just choreography. The choreography in some of the episodes was actually pretty decent, but it was nothing compared to what I got in the anime.
Yeah.
The anime choreography was just so much better.
Yeah, I just got to some fight scene really early on between Vicious and Spike. And I mean it was hot. Like it was fire. And I don't know how they're gonna do that type of thing. I haven't watched a Netflix show yet. I'm not even done the anime, but we'll get to it eventually. But yeah, I just don't feel good about comparing live action because live action is always my stance is I don't really like live action for most things that aren't drama. So whenever like action, I've kind of grown out of liking action movies and stuff like that in my later years. Like I don't really care for them as much as I used to when I was a kid. That's just like me personally. Yeah, that's kind of me personally.
Especially in terms of fight scenes and stuff. The thing, and I mentioned this in the Shang-Chi episode, but especially in American-made action movies.
Yes.
It just feels like they always need an explosion somewhere.
Yep.
And there's always a really close-up camera and it shakes. Whereas
and it's kind of clunky looking too.
Yeah. Whereas like old school, like kung fu flicks or whatever. Like I can do the action in a kung fu flick because they're more steady. They're more steady with their camera work and
it's fluid.
Yeah, they let the actors breathe. It's really nice.
And
so
actors,
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, all the actors. There's this thing in American action scenes that really triggers me a little bit. I shouldn't say triggers, but like it kind of just takes me out of this being a serious fight. It's where you can tell that the other person is waiting for a certain swing to go in a certain spot.
Yeah,
So let's
yeah,
say Spider-Man is fighting Captain America. Like you can tell that Captain America is waiting for Spider-Man to throw out a right punch.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
I can see that when I'm watching the fights. Like I can kind of see where the guy he like parries a move and then he's waiting for him to throw back the next move in this exact spot so he can do his next part of choreography. It's almost like watching someone dance who's doing the steps in their head. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
yep,
6. Like I can see that when I'm watching a lot of action in American cinema. Whereas I don't know, something about the old school like Jackie Chan, Jet Li stuff, just I don't know how
yeah,
they do it. It's so fast, it's so quick, and it's like, damn, I wonder how many times they had to practice this so that it doesn't look so contrived and just so scripted. That's the word I'm looking
100%.
for.
Yeah,
Scripted.
so in comparison to almost all of the other Marvel movies, I mean, Shang-Chi's choreography was really good. Now that
Yeah.
doesn't mean it was Legend of the Drunken Master, but it was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I
It was
still
very
really, really enjoyed it.
Yes, I really, really enjoy it. I stand by saying that the choreography for the movie looks fantastic, and whoever did that choreography definitely needs to stay on for all the Marvel movies after
Oh, I
that.
looked into it a little bit. I think now I don't remember because it's been a week now, so I don't remember exactly. But I know that I think the guy that did the Matrix is the guy that worked on a lot of the shots in Shang-Chi.
Okay, well, The
One of the
Matrix
guys,
also has amazing choreography, so that
yeah,
makes
well,
sense.
I think the choreographer for the Matrix is the guy that worked on Shang-Chi, if I remember
Yep.
correctly.
I wouldn't be surprised about that only because when I watched The Matrix, the second one, so what is it, Revolutions or something? I don't know. Whatever the second Matrix is, The Matrix Reloaded, I think it's called. The second one, the fight scenes in that when like Neo is fully in control of his powers and he's just OD, those
Mhm.
fights look crazy. Like those fights look fucking insane. And even now they've aged well. Like they still look pretty good. The one thing is that like the CG wasn't that great. You can very easily tell how much CG was used. A lot of times, Neo is literally just computerized, and so are the Smiths because there's like hundreds of them on the screen at one point. That one fight he has in the playground area or like a
Yeah.
park, but that fight looks amazing still, CG and all. Like it just still looks amazing, and I'm not surprised that I like Shang-Chi's choreography if the same guy did it because I think that whoever that is amazing at it. The other thing is Vincent mentions that he feels like Katie's character wasn't necessary. How do you feel about that, Kenny?
I mean, I think that she brought some levity. I hope I'm using that word correctly. She brought some levity to like the situation. She was like a comic relief, but
Yeah.
she also had a through line through the movie that was nice. Where in the beginning of the movie, we see that she's working a job that her parents aren't happy with, and she's like, "I'm just living my life. I'm happy. Get off my back." And then you notice things throughout the movie where she sees other people that are successful and that have known what they're doing with their life.
Yep.
There's a part where she says, like, I think it's really cool that you guys are just like, you know what you want to do, you have a mission and you do it. She's like, I really respect that. She's like, no, not me. And then she talks about how, she's tried a bunch of things, but she doesn't really ever stick with anything because she doesn't think she'll be that good anyway. And she was like, and that's just not me. I'm not going to do something that I know I'm not good at. And she goes through, and that's like thought processes that a lot of people have. So she doesn't have an integral plot to Shang-Chi's plot, like the person, the actor, or the character, not the name of the movie. But I think her plot is more so, yes, she's comic relief, but she also has a very human plot in just dealing with stress and real life. The idea of being happy in the situation you're in, but also B, not being complacent and putting yourself in a position to not like see yourself grow.
Yeah, my whole thing that we said in the actual episode was how relatable both of them were in the beginning of the movie. I think that's a big part of them being in the movie, or especially Katie, is just being a relatable character. Because think about this. If the movie was literally just Shang-Chi, who's some fucking son of a 1,000-year-old Asian guy with this ridiculous power and has discovered this secret land with like mythical creatures and magic and all this other stuff, who the fuck can relate to that? Like there's nothing about that that's relatable at all. Whereas like her being his best friend and them two kind of bonding over the last 10 years, like she knew him in high school, he was bullied and all that type of stuff. This is all stuff that a lot of people have actually gone through. So if her purpose is nothing else but to just provide a relatable character to regular people and also make him relatable as well, because he's also trying to live a regular life despite knowing that his mom had powers, because he blatantly said it as a kid, like, you don't have your powers. Like, knowing your mom had powers, knowing your dad has powers, knowing your dad's a vicious murderer, knowing your dad has lived 1,000 years, none of those things are relatable to us. Like, we cannot relate to a single thing. So Katie literally provides a bridge between regular people and then Shang-Chi's world, which is not regular at all. And that I love. So that's why I think that she exists. I also do think that the comic relief aspect of her is really well done, because a lot of times in Marvel movies, when those cringy jokes come up, I kind of just stare at the screen and don't laugh at all. But the jokes in this movie were fucking fantastic. Like, they were just good.
Yeah, they got me.
She was really good at all of her comedic timing. You know, we talked about the one where she comes in counting the money after he gets his ass beat by his sister.
Yeah.
And he's like, did you bet against me? It's like something about the way she walks into the room with those fucking those like lime
she
green
walks in with
pants
a
on.
stack too.
It's so much money coming out of her fanny pack and in her hands, and she's like counting it. There's just something about the way, I don't know. She's just a really funny character. And I do think that it is scary to toe that line between, are you a caricature of an Asian person or are you an actual like Asian person, and not just like, no one wants to see a representation like Asian stereotypes in a character. Like, that's not, and I do worry about that type of thing, because they can do, like, Hollywood can do that with anything. Like, they can have the stereotypical Black character, the stereotypical gay character, the stereotypical Asian character, and that is annoying and is problematic. But I didn't really feel like that with her. I felt like, one, her family was being, what I've heard from a lot of Asian people about their own parents being very strict and wanting you to live up expectations and all the pressures that come with that. And then also, you know, her being rebellious towards and being like, one, you know, I'm from America and I embrace that. Like, I'm not ashamed of, you know, not really being wholeheartedly Asian and embracing my Asian name and things like that. I don't feel bad about it. And also, I don't feel bad about the fact that I haven't chosen to become a nurse or an engineer or do anything STEM related with my life that, you know, pays well and is a typical 9-to-5. Like, I'm doing what I love, and she clearly loves riding vehicles. Like, that's her thing. And her fight back on, like, in the early parts of the movie, as soon as I saw that, I was like, damn, like, we're doing this podcast now because we also don't want to live the typical 9-to-5 lifestyle, and we like really are passionate about nerd culture and things like that. So this is what we really, really want to do, more so than anything else. I don't think there's anything wrong with pursuing that.
Yes. Yeah, I enjoyed the character. And I guess I think this is like basically the last point in terms of the emotional weight of Wenwu and Shang-Chi. I can see where you're coming from in that they didn't exchange very heavy emotional words. Like, he didn't say like you don't understand or whatever specifically. But I do feel, and obviously this is kind of one of the beautiful things about art, is that it's all perception and interpretation. From my viewing of it, I did feel that he essentially said that. The way his character is, he's not a person that's very experienced with opening up. He's not a person who seems like he had very open, emotional conversations in his life. Yeah. So Wenwu, for as great as a man he is, and by great I mean his legacy, he lived for 1,000 years, conquered nations, is extremely strong. He obviously puts himself, he's on a legendary status, right? But for all of that, he's not the kind of man that would be the best at having an emotional conversation or an open conversation or being able to say those things. So his actions and the little nods and little things that he says, I think shows the weight of that. You can see it in his face that, like, after he essentially loses the fight to his son, when his son gets all 10 rings, he's about to shoot him at him, and then he just throws him on the floor. Wenwu is like, go and stand up, and he looks at him and he says, I have to save your mother. She's back there. So he doesn't specifically say you don't understand the loss or anything like that, but you can see in his face and his acting that he feels that. And then there's the other part where Fraser was saying he said something so bitter. You can see the anger and the love in his face when he says, like, you sat there and watched your mother die.
Yep.
Like,
there's both emotions.
Yeah, you can feel those emotions there and see them, even if he's not specifically saying certain words.
Yeah, it's implied. And I think you spoke about that a lot in the episode too, is how the movie does a good job of not spoon feeding us everything. Like, we can kind of pick up on what's meant by certain scenes and certain looks and certain things they say, without them having to blatantly, you know, sometimes they just like, movies tend to over explain or just make it seem like the audience is a little on the slow side. Like, just, you know, over explaining can be very annoying. It's just like, okay, I got it. Like, you didn't have to show a flashback of that, or you know what I mean? Like, sometimes it gets a little bit much. Like, you can expect that if I'm watching this movie, I paid attention enough to understand. If you just did this in a subtle way, I knew exactly what was meant by it. And Shang-Chi does that a lot in the movie. And I think that's really good. But yeah, even when Wu, who is like this tyrant, you know, he has a lot of emotional depth, I feel like, because he's never loved anything until he met the woman that he decided to lay down and have children with and take the rings off for. I think that like that is character development in itself, and then also how he reacts after she dies and how his past comes back to haunt him, and he's emotional after that, where he acknowledges like my past came back for me, and it turns him back into that tired mode, and that's real. Like people backslip into who they used to be even after years of trying to rehab from it, whatever it is, whatever your demons are, that you
whatever
run
those
from
addictions are.
Those addictions, those demons come back sometimes, and sometimes you just welcome them with open arms. And a lot of people have been there. I know I've been there with certain things where it's just like, oh, I want to stop doing this, and then maybe you get into a situation where you're like, fuck it, I'm just like I tried, and you backslid into it. It happens. It's a very human thing. So even though this guy's lived for literally 1,000 years, and you would think, oh, the amount of wisdom that comes with that, the amount of intelligence and knowledge that comes with that, but even still, he's still very human. And towards the end of the movie, it showed that he's very human when he really believed that his wife was behind her. And you also have to think about one more thing. And this is not to like absolutely shit on your opinion or anything, but
no, I think the letter he wrote was really well written.
Yes,
and,
I agree.
He had a lot of points. We're just talking through them.
Yeah. So the other thing is that let's not forget this guy is actually 1,000 years old, and he has experienced magical powers for 1,000 years. Right? Shang-Chi and his sister, they're very young. They're regular humans. Like they're in their 20s. They're not really anywhere near the lifespan of their dad. And probably the mom either. So when the idea is presented that his wife is actually locked behind this magical wall and all of that, that's not really far-fetched to somebody who literally has been living their entire life with magical powers on their arms. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not far.
He's like, you children don't know like what you're talking about.
Yes. So when he's saying that,
real quick, do you remember the line? There's a part where there's the village elder, a super old man in the village, starts talking to Wenwu, and Wenwu looks at him and he's like, watch your mouth, young man.
He says that to me. He says, I lived 1,000 of your lifetimes or something like that. Some crazy number. Like I lived 10 of your lifetimes.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool that he called this guy who blatantly looks younger, like older than him. Like the old guy looked way older than Wenwu, but he called him young man. I thought that was amazing. Just a little like, I don't know, such a clever line, right? Because you're looking at him like, hold the fuck up. Like that guy looks like he's at least twice your age, right? Like, but that's a really interesting point, is the way he sees people is not the way normal people see them. And the way he thinks about the unthinkable, magical powers and things like that is also very different. And again, I can't stress it enough. We don't know what it's like to live for 1,000 years and to have magic be an actual thing. So when he's talking crazy, because literally his kids look at him like he's crazy when he starts talking about, I've been hearing your mother and she's locked in Talo and all this other stuff. They think that he's actually fucking lost it. It's the same exact response I would probably have if my dad was talking like that. Even if I know that, like, my dad does have these 10 rings that are make him immortal and all this other stuff. It's still just like, yeah, but people don't come back from the dead though. Like that still hasn't, no matter how much magic you have, like that still hasn't been a thing.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like that, no matter what, I've never heard you talk about bringing people back from the dead, Dad. Like that has never been a thing in 1,000 years. So like, why all of a sudden? So yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's all about perspective. And I do respect your perspective on this. As you, Vincent's last name is Zen. He's an Asian guy, so he, your perspective is very valid on this. And I will watch Crazy Rich Asians to see, because I can't really comment on that part, but I do know about like typecasting actors and then them becoming a caricature of a certain, race or group of people. And that shit is super cringe to me whenever that happens. I really, really hate it. It's kind of like I said, with the typecasting of gay people is often a really flamboyant gay guy who's very gossipy. Like that was, especially in the like the 90s and early 2000s, whenever you would watch any kind of sitcom or anything, anytime there was a gay guy, he was just that character. Like that was just the typical, this is the gay guy. He's gay because he's like super catty, super
always
flamboyant.
Like some girl's best friend.
Always a girl's best friend. Like he, just has no sense of being like anywhere near a person who's not these specific look like adjectives that Hollywood has picked out. Like, oh, this is how you know someone's gay.
Yeah, yeah.
And that representation or lack of normal representation where like, you know, there's a ton of different types of people in this world and you kind of don't show that ever in Hollywood, at least not for a while. Now it's starting to become more normal that like people are like in Eternals, one of the Eternals is actually homosexual and there's nothing about him that's super flamboyant or the stereotypical things that you see in Hollywood. Like he's none of those things. And that is really cool to me because it's just like his sexuality is not who he is completely. Like that's not the only thing about this guy. You know what I mean? Like it's not his only defining characteristic. It's like, oh, this is gay guy one. Like that's not who he is. Like he's a father and he's also a fucking eternal. He has magic powers and stuff like that. And he also has an ability. I don't want to say what it is because Kenny hasn't seen it yet, but he also has like this cool ass ability. They all do, but it's like, yeah, he's more than just his sexuality. And I like that. But then sometimes you can get these caricatures of different types of people in Hollywood. And it's really obnoxious. So I'm going to watch Crazy Rich Asians. And then I'll probably comment on Aquafina in that as well. So,
quick note on that, on like displaying characters as you know, sometimes movies or shows when they want to show a gay character or whatever, they struggle with this line of just making it seem normal or like putting in your face that it's a normal gay person or whatever. Like, oh, this guy's gay, but he's not the gay that you always see. And I think like one way I saw somewhat recently, and it's just like it just works. Is you always have a thing where like two guys will be talking and he'll be like, you know, one guy will be on the phone with his wife. He's like, oh, I was just talking to Janine. You can just do that exact same scene. It's like, oh, I just got off the phone with Greg. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's just like, yeah, I'll be home for dinner, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, is that Greg? Yeah.
I actually think that Endgame did it really well.
It just works.
Do you remember in Endgame, there's a scene, it's really early. Captain America is at like some kind of group where they discuss like how it feels after the blip. And one of the guys talks about how he was on a date or something like that. And he doesn't mention that the date is with a guy until like the very end of the story. Like you don't know that he's talking about a guy. And it kind of just comes as like a little afterthought, like, oh shit, like this whole time, like this guy's talking about he was on a date with a guy. And that it was done really subtle. It wasn't like in your face. He wasn't snapping his fingers and gossiping and giving people like the tea and other shit. So
he was just being a regular person, like most people are.
Yeah, like you don't need to show these specific adjectives every single time to represent a character. Like black people don't all have to be ghetto and loud and like all the other fucking negative stereotypes that like there are about us. It's like there can be more things shown for individual human beings. So I do appreciate when that is a thing, and I'm just going to pray that Aquafina isn't getting always typecast into those roles, but I got a feeling that Vincent might be onto something. So all right, well that's the Shang-Chi response listener letter. Again, you guys can write into IMNerdpodcast@gmail.com and we will read your letter aloud on the show and also discuss it as we just did for about 30 minutes there. Now Kenny, you wanted to talk about the new Pokemon games dropped. Well, really they're remakes of Diamond and Pearl. So we got Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl.
Yes.
I assumed that's what you wanted to talk about since that's the newest hotness for Pokemon. I know people were like, I don't know if they were camping out or what, but I did see like lines in GameStop posting on social media.
Yeah. I mean, I just, they're out. It's something to talk about. Pokemon's very like big in my life. I grew up with it. And there's a lot of division with these games.
Yeah.
So I mentioned it before, but Generation 4, which is Diamond and Pearl's generation of Pokemon, Diamond and Pearl Platinum, and then Heart Gold, Soul Silver. That's my favorite Pokemon generation. That's like the golden age.
Okay.
I think Diamond, Pearl, Platinum are just amazing games in their own right. And then Heart Gold, Soul Silver are remakes of Gold and Silver, which are two of the best Pokemon games. Heart Gold and Soul Silver just making them even better. And it's also, in my opinion, the most interesting competitive generation. The competitive scene of that generation, I think, was really, really well done, decently balanced, and just sort of the mechanics of everything that was happening at that time made that generation really fun for competitive. So a perfect storm of things makes it my favorite generation. So I've been waiting for Diamond and Pearl remakes for a long time and really excited for them. And essentially, if it's not obvious, I'm disappointed with these remakes. I haven't bought them. And so, I might shit on them a little bit. But I do want to make it clear that if you have them, if you're enjoying them, if you're having fun and you're excited, don't let me and my opinions and my bitterness take that away. Like, have fun, enjoy the games. Somebody said to me recently, like, I don't know what everybody's complaining about. I got these games and they're amazing. But they never played Diamond and Pearl. And I was like, well, I never said the games were bad. Diamond and Pearl are amazing games. I said I don't think it's a good remake, but it's still a remake of a game that's amazing. So like the game's going to be good. My gripe isn't that the game's not good. It's that the remake could have been so much more. And I even have a weird idea that if this game was made 5 years ago, it would be a better game. And that's a weird position to be in because typically you think about, man, imagine how good this game would be if it was made 5 years from now. It's rare that you look at a game and say, imagine how good it would be if it was made 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. I wonder why you feel that way.
So I'll get into that. So to give, I guess, a little backstory of what leads up to this. So the current generation of Pokemon is Pokemon Sword and Shield. I think that's like Gen 8 or something. I don't remember exactly what number we're on. But Sword and Shield not just came out. They're like a year or two old now. But they came out and they had a ton of controversies in their own right. One of which being what people have dubbed Dexit, playoff Brexit. It's that a whole bunch of Pokemon are not included in Sword and Shield. They're just taken out of the game. They're not in the game. So Pokemon that throughout all these years we've been carrying, like since childhood, there's Pokemon that we've been transferring up to each and every generation. Pokemon that have been with us forever. Now all of a sudden we can't bring them to the newest game, and that caused a whole bunch of problems and people complaining about different things. Some people don't know that this has happened before. In Ruby and Sapphire, which is Gen 3, because of how buggy Generation 1 is, Red and Blue was such a buggy mess of a game. They made Gen 2, but by the time they were making Ruby and Sapphire, they needed a clean slate. Because if they were going to continue to carry over and support the fucking tragedy of Gen 1's architecture, like, it was going to just hold the series back. Yeah. So they had to completely rework how the series works and the games works. And it made it so that Generation 3 Ruby and Sapphire weren't compatible with Gold, Silver, Red, Blue. What this means is that what this also ended up doing is leaving out a lot of Pokemon. But this is where our very first remakes come into play. Fire Red, Leaf Green. Remakes are Red and Blue. So now we get Red and Blue, but in current gen graphics, current gen art style, current gen mechanics. And it brings in all these Pokemon that are missing from Ruby and Sapphire, and sort of everything's made okay again. From there starts a trend of remakes. We get Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and then we get Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire. All these remakes, what they do is they take whatever that game was and they bring it up to the standard of what the current game is plus more. Heart Gold, Soul Silver is brought up to the standard of Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, but even better. It improved the fidelity of the sprite work. It improved upon what was in Gold, Silver, Crystal. It gave us even more, expanded upon things, cleaned up things, offered us the remixed music and the old school music. Like you had two whole soundtracks, like the original soundtrack and the new soundtrack. Anyway, Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire adds a whole new storyline at the end called the Delta episode, and the graphics were better than X and Y. They added more Mega Evolutions. So the point is, every remake, they bring it up to the standard of what the current game is, and they make it even a little bit better. So now Diamond and Pearl remakes are coming, and what you would expect based on all the previous remakes, it would be brought up to the standard of Sword and Shield, where it would look graphically like Sword and Shield, but then they would do even more. They would improve upon the weakness of Sword and Shield, and this is a perfect opportunity to bring the Pokedex back to patch up the missing Pokemon in Sword and Shield, just like you did with Ruby and Sapphire. This is a perfect opportunity to do that, but they don't do any of that. Instead, they just make it a one-for-one remake of the original Diamond and Pearl. It's basically the same graphics. Like, yes, I know it's in 3D, it's not sprites, but if you look at this, if you look at the artwork, the model work, it's the same feel as the sprite works, and in my opinion, kind of worse. Like, it doesn't look as good.
Oh shit.
So graphically, it's not something new to look at. The game is just kind of the same game. There's a couple things added, but then there's some things taken away, and it's just Diamond and Pearl again. Like it doesn't feel.
How much do they cost? Like the actual game?
$60.
So my thing, I'm just gonna interject a little bit here, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
I always, when it comes to these remakes, if it's a real remake, you know what I mean? I think that those prices can be justifiable. And I would use the example now, especially because it's one of my favorite games in recent years. Final Fantasy VII Remake is worth the $60 because it's really not just Final Fantasy VII again. It is, I mean, you look at the graphics of the original Final Fantasy VII and you look at Remake, not just that alone, I think is worth the 60 because I can't imagine how much time and effort it took to create Midgar, but also the voice acting, which wasn't a thing, right? The music, having to update the music and make it sound, 2020 at the time when it released. That's also a huge factor. And a lot of other things they did that I think are just fucking fantastic. Like literally rewriting a story because it's not the exact same story. I think all of those things warrant the $60. Excuse me, the $60 price tag. It's not crazy when it's like, oh, this game is $60, but it's a remake. Now, what you're saying about Diamond and Pearl is it sounds kind of like these games are not really worth $60.
Not to me. I mean,
yeah, and I think price really does speak to the consumer.
When you look at the effort that was put into the previous remakes, those games were $40. Granted, they were on the DS or 3DS, etc.
Yeah.
And before it was like on a home console, it was only $40, but like that's fine, whatever at the times. Then the base games being 60 isn't that big of a deal, but the fact that they're now 60 and you're giving me less than all of the other remakes had, like, it's just odd. Like graphically, I'm not a big graphics guy, but that's also why I love Diamond Pearl Platinum. I'm replaying Platinum right now on my phone because I love Platinum. I literally started a new Platinum file the day Diamond and Pearl came out. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl came out. I started a Platinum file. Them not being good graphics isn't my problem. My problem is that it doesn't feel like the graphics are anything to wow me over the sprite work. I even think the sprite work's better. If you gave me Diamond and Pearl, but in Sword and Shield style graphics and really opened the world up and like made it feel bigger, that would make me go, holy shit, this is really cool. Because that's what made me say, holy shit, this is really cool to the previous remakes. It's like, oh my God, I'm looking at red and blue version, which if you don't know, were in black and white when they came out. Like they didn't have, they weren't in color. The sprite work was not good. When those games were made in Gen 3, full color, all the towns and buildings and Pokemon, great sprite work, full color. Like it was like, holy shit, I'm playing red and blue version, but it looks really good. So when I'm playing Diamond and Pearl, and it really does, no exaggeration, look like a cell phone game. And now, granted, that like argument is even played out now because cell phones now can play games like Fortnite and Call of Duty,
and they look great.
Like, yeah, so like cell phone games can look amazing. But I'm saying, but when you look at it, it looks like the aesthetic of like the typical free-to-play cash grab cell phone game. When I look at the new Diamond and Pearl graphics, that's what it looks like, and that's not what I want to spend $60 on. It's just kind of disappointing.
Yeah, and I haven't played a new Pokemon game or even a remake in a very long time. I've kind of drifted out of Pokemon. I think my only interest in a Pokemon, and it's not even really Pokemon, was Pokemon Go. In like the 2016 era, and you know, the era that we all deem as the first time the world saw peace, like actual peace between everyone, because everyone just cared about Pokemon. And by the way, for people who don't know, Pokemon is the biggest franchise in all things nerd and fun fantasy. There is not a single other franchise in existence that is bigger than Pokemon. It is the biggest franchise, period. Like,
yes, it is.
In all things nerd and fantasy, there is nothing, not Star Wars, not Harry Potter, not Final Fantasy,
not even like big Mickey Mouse.
There's literally nothing as big as Pokemon in existence in terms of fantasy. So just there's that. But even with it being as, you know, as big as it is, and like so many people play it and so many people know it at the very least, even if they don't play it, I just haven't been interested in anything that they've been doing lately. And remakes always are kind of like a nostalgia sell, and I can be susceptible to it too, because it took me, I didn't even have to like, they didn't have to do anything to sell me Final Fantasy VII Remake. I was going to play it no matter what they did. Like if they literally, like they could have done very little and I would have still played it. I know that about myself. So I'm not like, you know, hating on the people who did go out and buy Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl immediately because you guys love Pokemon. There's nothing wrong with that. I remember the time when I did love it too. It made me feel really good. But I don't know. There's something about Pokemon lately that just hasn't really spoken to me, and I really wish that I could get back into it because so many of my friends, especially on Facebook, are all about it. But even them, I noticed that they kind of post about it in that first week when a new game comes out, then it gets completely silent.
Yeah, and I still love the games, and that like the formula, the way the games are amazing, but I tend to find myself going back and just replaying, like I'm replaying Platinum right now, and I'm having a ball. Like I'm loving it. Like the game's great, but you know, I can't bring myself to spend $60 on this remake, especially because the other thing, I don't know if I mentioned it yet, but this game, once again, the thing about Fire Red Leaf Green, Heart Gold Soul Silver, Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, not only did they come up to the generation standards and expand upon them, they were fully connected with that generation. Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire went beyond X and Y, but also was fully compatible with X and Y. So if you had X and Y and you wanted things from, you didn't even have to buy the new ones. You could use the social features of Pokemon and trade with people. Like all of the things that were added in Ruby and Sapphire, you could have in your X and Y game just through trading and things like that, and going
Well,
through
that's interesting.
the various
So,
social features.
are you saying that that's not a thing in Brilliant Diamond and Shining
So
Pearl?
no, so Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, they're games in a vacuum. They're not really part of what's the current Pokemon,
Which is
like,
Sword and Shield.
which is Sword and Shield. Yeah, they don't. These two games aren't really connected. They don't have connectivity. They aren't involved with each other. As far as I know, like, you can't battle like in Generation 6, which I believe is X and Y. If I had a Pokemon X version and you had Pokemon Omega Ruby, you and me could battle each other in that game's competitive format. And everything that was in both of our games is transferable.
Yep. So those games see each other in a way.
Yes.
Like those games can see each other, but these two new ones, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl,
they can't see each other. They don't interact. And I just find that this Brilliant Diamond isn't expanding upon the metagame of Sword and Shield. And, more than competitive, it's not expanding upon just all of the features and making them interchangeable and connected like every other game before it is done. So it's just odd because it feels like, because Generation 4 is my favorite generation. And the thing about, I'm bitter. I can fully admit I'm bitter and I'm sad because the game I've been waiting for just kind of fell really flat. And if this was made, my point is, if this was made 5 years ago, if this was made on the 3DS, it would be a better game because it would be fully connected to the other Pokemon games in the universe. It would have more features, and they would have went more above and beyond for this game 5 years ago. I don't really know what's changed in the company, but for whatever reason, instead they went with a really bare bones remake. And if you're going to give me a bare bones remake, I'll just play the original game.
I almost want to throw out the COVID excuse.
Nah.
The laziness, like not just laziness, but the COVID excuse is really saying, oh, we don't have all the employees that we used to have, or like, supply chain shortages, and we don't have the development budget that we used to have. We had to cut back on certain areas and certain things just because profits might be down and the gaming industry might be suffering a little bit or whatever. Like every company's dealing.
My thing is, for me, that's not an excuse because just delay the game. You can just delay it. They did it with Metroid Prime 4. If things aren't going well, you can just delay it. And B, this is Pokemon. You just said 10 minutes ago. It is the most successful franchise. Like, I'm not crying for Pokemon's pockets. Like, they aren't losing money anywhere. So they don't need to rush this game out the door.
So
but they will because they'll make money.
Let me say something about that. From a business perspective, I know that, like, how do I say this? I don't want to sound condescending here, but you'd be surprised at how many things actually do need to get rushed out for quarterly revenue. Literally because of expectations on, one, publicly traded stock, and two, just companies having to show a certain level of earnings every quarter, causing them to do things like this because they know Pokemon is a cash grab. I almost feel like that's exactly what's happened with this, is that this game was rushed out at $60 a copy, right? Mm-hmm. A price higher than...
What you're saying is true. Like, everything you're saying is true. This is exactly what has happened.
We're consumers. We're not, like you said, I agree with you. I'm not fighting against you on this. We are not crying for Pokemon or Nintendo's pockets. But I do also have to say, as someone who has been working for different companies and I've been doing accounting for 11 years now, it is scary the things that companies will do to make sure that earnings every quarter, or if not quarter, every year, look a certain way and to a certain standard. They always try to beat earnings. And if they've been having like a kind of a shaky year, I'm telling you, Kenny, somebody probably said, put out a Pokemon game.
No, you're right. But here's the problem. And I agree. I agree with everything you said. And I know what I'm saying is I fully believe in vote with your wallet. And I wish more people did.
Yes. That's the problem though. You realize that's the actual problem, is that people buy this shit.
People will buy. This game is selling very, very well. And if you're having fun and you're enjoying it, that's fine. But I don't want to take your happiness away. But what I'm saying is that you are harming your future happiness, in my opinion.
That is true.
You're telling them that this is okay. When Sword and Shield got made, they blatantly lied to people. They said, we have to cut Pokemon out of the Pokedex. We're sorry, but we're removing Pokemon from the game because we're working on higher fidelity, higher quality models to improve the model work and the animations of the games. When Sword and Shield came out, they were using the exact same models they were using on the 3DS that they've been using since 2013, I think is when X and Y came out. They weren't using new models. They were using the exact same models that they've been using in X and Y on Sword and Shield. So they blatantly lied and said, The reason why we got to take all these Pokemons out is because we have to improve the fidelity, improve the quality of the models, and that's not what they did. And that was revealed prior to the games coming out. People took the screenshots and the gameplay trailers of Sword and Shield, and they took that and they were able to count the polygons, put it in a program. People smarter than me, better than me, they were to directly compare them.
They data mined that shit and realized this is the exact same thing.
This is the exact same shit. So it was revealed, and there was other things that they said. But it was revealed before Sword and Shield came out that they were lying to us and just not telling the truth.
Yeah.
And Sword and Shield still sold absurd. It's one of the Switch's best-selling games. Yeah. This tells Game Freak, hey, and the Pokemon Company, you can fucking lie to your fans. You can offer them nothing, and they will still buy millions of copies of your game.
Right. And that kind of goes back to your point about 5 years ago. Maybe this would not have slid by so easily, but I think that, the fan base may have, in a weird way, screwed themselves a bit on more features and just more, as opposed to getting less, and also a really high price tag, if you ask me. I think $60 for a remake is crazy for Pokemon.
What should sell a game, what should make these games sell like hotcakes, is the fact that they come out like it's been the standard that when games come out, they offer more, they do more, they have more, whatever.
I think at the very least,
the
integration with the current gen, that is a huge selling point, I would think. And for that not to be a thing, is there any talks about maybe that becoming a thing?
The only chance we have is that, so once again, you can transfer a Pokemon from Brilliant Diamond to Pokemon Home, and then from Pokemon Home, you can transfer it to Pokemon Sword, but Sword and Diamond can't see each other directly.
Yeah, that's not.
But to go even further, though, it's worse than that. This doesn't open up Sword and Shield at all. You can still only send. So, like, let's say Growlithe is in Sword and Shield. If you get a Growlithe and Diamond, you can put it on Home and then put it on Sword and Shield.
Yep, because it's
actually Pokemon like Infernape, who isn't in Sword and Shield's Pokedex, you can't put on. You can't transfer it to Sword and Shield at all. Sword and Shield. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And this is a perfect opportunity for him to be in Sword and Shield, because you just released a brand new remake that should update the Pokedex.
I completely follow your gripes. I really do think that this was rushed out at the very least to make 2021's bottom line look a lot better. I could look it up. It's on Yahoo Finance. I have no insight really on, like, as of right now, I have no insight on how Nintendo is performing as far as a company goes from their perspective.
They're doing very well.
From a business perspective, I have no idea. But I know that a big thing with businesses is always beating last year's revenue, beating last year's sales numbers, and just overall performing better year over year. And they will do whatever they have to do, including fucking over their whole fan base, especially when the fan base has proven that they don't care about essentially being fucked over. They'll still stand in line. Like I said before we started, I saw screenshots or photos of GameStop being packed with people standing in line for this game. I didn't know it was going to be that big because it's a remake. I was like, damn, people are lining up for this.
That would have been me if they never released a trailer. That would have been me. If I never saw any, if they just said this game's coming out, you'll fucking see it when you play it, I'd be like, I'm in. Yeah. I'm fucking in. And I'd be there, and I would have turned the game on, and I don't know, took it back.
Yeah. Well, sucks,
it's just, but it just makes me sad. I just want the games to be great. Like, I would love to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to take this L, and this is going to make the next game. They're going to use this budget to make the next game better. But I'm older now. I've learned that's not what happens. They don't use this game to make the budget for the next game better. That's not what happens. We're teaching them, we can cut a couple corners. They're going to buy it anyway.
Yeah, and Pokemon being the biggest gives them that privilege too. It's kind of the same way I feel about Kingdom Hearts. They can keep releasing all these fucking Kingdom Hearts 2.8, 2.5, 2.9, 1.3, and all this other nonsense, and not give the next actual installment of the game. Like, cool, those 2 point everything and 1 point this and that. Yeah, they have some extra content, but like, dog, how many times are you gonna charge me for the same fucking content? Like, I'm not trying to hear it. Like, you add a couple optional bosses, like, cool, dog. Like, you beat some fucking optional bosses, whoop-de-doo. Like, I'm not about to keep on paying you $50 or $35 because I think that's what those usually end up costing, like less than a full standard game, but still just like, okay, how many times have you repackaged this and sold it to me?
And Square Enix are the kings of repack. Like, they've resold their games but again, so many times.
People accept it, and it's like, then when Kingdom Hearts 3 came out and it delivered lackluster, it's like, well, shit, I wish that we didn't get 2.8 and all these other fucking things, and we had just gotten more development on Kingdom Hearts 3, maybe some Final Fantasy characters, for God's sakes, just to say, like, and if you want to hear us, give our full reasoning behind Kingdom Hearts 3, like, obviously we still like the game, but it does have its problems. we have a Kingdom Hearts episode specifically about that with guest Anthony. And yeah, it's just like I totally understand the frustration with seeing these remakes and thinking like you've actually done less. Like that's how I felt with Kingdom Hearts 3. You've given me less than what I expected, or which should be honestly not even just like my expectations. I just feel like that's just where I like more should have just been natural. Like it should have been a natural progression of things.
It's also just less from what they've given us. That's what I mean. 5 years ago when they
don't have
these
Sephiroth
games,
in the game. Like why is Sephiroth not in Kingdom Hearts 3?
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean though. With this Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, 5 years ago, this game would have had more. Because I saw the games they put out 5 years ago.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
No, like, you're right. That's why it was interesting to have you explain. Like, what do you mean 5 years ago this would have been better? Because that sounds crazy out of context.
Yeah, but if they made this game, and I mean with 3DS graphics, I don't mean when you say like, oh, imagine if this game came out when we were younger, and you mean the current. No, that's not what I mean. I mean if they made the game 5 years ago on 5 years ago hardware, it would be a better game than it is now.
Yeah.
Not like what if Halo 20 came out in 2002? No, I mean
yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's in general my thoughts about it.
It's kind of unfortunate. The fan base is going to I mean until people put their foot down, they're going to allow it. So
yeah. And that's the thing is, I know I'm just one person, you know, it's the same people say about like voting doesn't matter. I'm voting with, I'm just one guy, but I'm not buying the games. And part of me wants to. Like I love the games that much that I still want to buy it, even though I'm disappointed in them. But I'm not buying them. I'm playing through Platinum on my phone. I have a DS. I'm fine.
All right. Well, that wraps that up. Let us know what you guys think about that whole topic. People, because I know we do have fans who definitely play Pokemon and who have bought Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Let us know how you guys feel about the stuff that Kenny was saying, and then also what I was saying about. I mean, if you have any perspective on companies just kind of doing things for the bottom line, it doesn't really matter. Like they don't really see Pokemon the same way the consumer sees Pokemon because they are a business. So to them, you know, it's more of a cash grab. Like these, basically, what Kenny just described to me is a cash grab. Like that is, you just described the cash grab. You did not describe a real remake or a real anything that's supposed to push the series forward. Is more so like we need money or we want money, and $60 a pop on some nostalgia selling, like line up for it, and people did. So let us know what you guys think about that.
If you want, I don't know which, because we have a couple things we have to talk about. If you want, I can transition this perfectly into the Project L discussion, and we don't got to stay on Project L too long because I know you just found out about it. But there's aspects of this that I think directly tie into that that I can talk about right now.
Go right into Project L. That's fine.
So on that whole note about companies pushing things out for the money, etc. Riot Games, whether or not whatever you think about them, they make League of Legends and Valorant. They're making a fighting game called Project L. It's a League of Legends fighting game. And this game has been in development since I want to say 2018. It got announced in 2018, which means it's been in development since before 2018.
And probably got slowed down from COVID.
Through COVID, yes. And they even said they just, I think last night, put out a 6-minute discussion / trailer talking about the game and showing the game off. And they admit it, I think in a post-trailer thing, the game's not coming out in 2022. So, we can maybe expect a game in 2023. So the point of this game is not being rushed out for money, even though I think this game is going to sell very well. Because what Riot Games is doing is they're taking care about the fan base and to make the game as good as they can get. The people working on it are Tom and Tony Cannon. I love shouting these two guys out. Tom and Tony Cannon are the people that created Rollback Netcode. Pretty much the premier best netcode you can ask for in a fighting game. It essentially makes it so that there is no input delay when you're playing a fighting game online, which is fucking amazing. In addition to that, they are two of the main shareholders and two of the main people that created Evo way back in the day, not way back in the gay. But yeah, they helped create Evo, and they which is the biggest fighting game tournament in the world. So they're working on it. They care a lot about it, and something that's important. The reason why I'm bringing this up, and we talk about other things about the game. The game looks incredible. Art style looks amazing.
Looks very much like Guilty Gear to me.
Oh man,
it has a very and that's not a bad thing. I'm saying that because I think Guilty Gear, especially the newest one, Guilty Gear looks amazing. Like the way the models move and the way the motions are very fluid. Like you see the entire motion of an attack, and just the way characters jump around and then the assist that they have. This game also is like a 2v2 type of situation where you have one character and then you have an assist that you can like tag out into, kind of like Marvel vs. Capcom. It looks really, really good. Like really good. I saw Jinx versus, I think the guy's name is Echo. Jinx and Echo were fighting against each other, and it just looked, and mind you, I don't know anything really about League of Legends. I just kind of know these characters because I keep seeing them on my timeline. I also have a friend, Amanda LaPalm, who cosplayed as a Jinx a long time ago, and so that's kind of how I know that character. And then the Echo character,
shout out to that cosplay, by the way. I'll never forget. That was like back in 2010, I want to say.
It's like 2012, 2013. It's insane.
She did an excellent job on that cosplay, too.
Yeah, she just reshared it because it was like the anniversary of it. She was like, damn, it's been this long. And everyone was like, holy shit, I forgot about this. But this was insane. I shouldn't even say people said they forgot. They were like, this is one of the most iconic things that ever happened. And I went to, she reposted the YouTube video that she did where she's literally speaking as Jinx and everything, like saying all of Jinx's actual lines.
Actually, it's fucking amazing.
It has millions of views.
Yeah, it does. I'm not surprised.
All the comments are like, holy fuck, like you are Jinx. Like you became.
There's some people, if I remember, there's some people that even accused her of lip syncing.
They did. That was a whole thing. They were like, I think
she was not lip syncing.
And there were like arguments going back and forth about that. And she then said in a repost, like, I actually wasn't lip syncing, but I think that is actually flattering that you guys think that I was. But no, I did. This is hundreds of takes. But the whole point is that I don't really know much about League of Legends or any of its characters. However, after watching right before this podcast, the Project L trailer or whatever you want to call it, I was impressed just by the way the fighting game looks. And yeah, it looks promising. They did mention how they have like dedicated servers for it, obviously rollback netcode, and they're putting a lot of effort into making sure that the online experience is like they spend at least two out of the 6 minutes
talking about the online experience,
just the online experience, which is like 33% of the video.
What's important about that, this essentially is what piggybacked me into this from Pokemon, is some people will often tell you, and this is even aside from just Pokemon and me being bitter, but this is for anything that you like or whatever. These businesses, remember, they aren't your friend. You have the right as the consumer you have the right to complain. You have the right to voice your opinion and say what you want and get your voice out there, get your complaint out there.
And vote with your dollar.
And vote with your money. And what's important about that is they spend 2 minutes in this trailer talking specifically about the online infrastructure and about how good the online infrastructure is going to be. And they talk about all the features, rollback netcode, dedicated servers, and they talk about how if somebody rage quits, their infrastructure will determine who rage quit and who deserves to get a win. That way, because in a lot of fighting games, somebody rage quits, you just wasted your time. You don't get to rank up. You don't get your level up points or whatever. But they're saying like, no, you're going to still get your points, etc. They spend 2 minutes of the 6-minute update video talking specifically about online. But the reason why we're getting that is because for the last 10 years in fighting games, we've been complaining and bitching and moaning about fighting games having outdated online infrastructures. Smash Ultimate, great example.
I was about to say, Smash is notorious, and it's disgusting because Smash is the biggest fighting game in the world, in case you didn't know. It's bigger than literally every other fight game that has ever come out. Smash is the absolute biggest.
And there are fighting games that came out in 2010 with better features and better online than Smash Ultimate. There was fighting games that came out in 2010 that had the infrastructure that would put fighting games in a good light. But since a decade later, we've had hundreds of fighting games come out to not take what was developed 10 years ago and still continue with these outdated, archaic online infrastructure. But because in the last 3 or so years, people have been yelling and bitching and complaining. Every time a fighting game got announced in like last 3 years, the entire fan base said, is it going to have rollback netcode? And they're like, oh, well, maybe. I mean, well, it's really hard. And they go, oh, okay, well, I'm not buying it. And then that's happened so much that now when fighting games come out, if you look at like the last 3 fighting games that got announced, they spend time specifically saying this game's going to have good online. This
Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl, Multiversus, which we'll talk about as well. The new
Multiversus. They even spend time. They say online is very important to us and input delay and etc. in the Multiversus trailer. So now because people complained and bitched and voted with their wallet for the last 3 or so years, 5 years, for some people even 10 years, finally, fighting game companies are saying, fuck, we have to address this. We have to learn how to make our online better because the fans are yelling and voting with, their voices and their wallet. And that's what I mean. Don't just accept something being mediocre because you love the company. I love Nintendo, but I'm not buying the Nintendo 64 expansion pack because, like Cartman said, I at least want to get taken out to dinner before I get fucked.
Yeah, and also, how much is it again? That Nintendo 64 expansion thing?
I think I don't remember the exact price, but it's double the price of the normal online. So I think the online pass in general is like $15 for a family plan a year, and I think with the expansion pack, it goes up to like 45 or some crazy shit.
Yeah,
like it's fucking outlandish.
Yeah. And those games aren't even optimized, as we talked about before, but they're just not.
They are not.
The Nintendo 64 games actually have issues, which you would think there's no fucking reason that an emulator should be running Nintendo games better than Nintendo. But alas, here we are.
Here we are. So vote with your wallet, and don't be afraid to voice your own concerns to make the things that you love better. Because if you don't, the companies aren't your friend. They're not going to just make it better out of the kindness of their fucking heart.
Once someone knows that you accept an abusive relationship, 9 times out of 10, they'll continue with the abuse and probably escalate it.
Yeah.
Until you officially say enough is enough. Like, a good example of this is EA. You probably remember the debacle years and years ago now. EA did some really scummy shit. I believe it was a Star Wars game.
Yeah, it was, I think, Battlefront 2.
It was one of the Star Wars games. And there were like 2 ways to unlock certain characters and certain skins and stuff like that. Let's say Darth Vader, for example. You would need to have played the game so without having to pay for them, you would need to have played the game for like 8 years or something outrageous to have been able to afford Darth Vader through actual gameplay as opposed to buying him. And that was so scummy that they got ripped on Twitter. They got dragged in every article and YouTube videos and reactions by not only just the community, but people outside the community too, who just were talking about it because, one, the buzz was so big on it. Why not? Like, we would have done a podcast episode on it if we were around at that time. But it was such a big controversy because essentially EA had been getting away with little scummy things like that in the past. And it finally came to a breaking point where it's like, this abusive relationship stops now. And the community ripped them so bad that they actually went and like completely revised the entire thing and like the way you can unlock characters, and every game after that has not done anything close or as scummy as that. If you want me to buy certain things, just say that, right? Like,
right.
Don't pretend like I can earn it on my own,
bro. I love it when that came out, when it was like, okay, this is the model. Yeah, you can unlock things without paying for it, blah blah blah. And the guy who did the whole breakdown, it's like, you would need to play this game for 8 years or whatever the number was. It was an outlandish number.
It was something outrageous.
In order to unlock Darth Vader, it's like, come the fuck on. Like,
it was something so ridiculous. Like, obviously, us saying 8 years is probably a bit of hyperbole, but even still, the game would not be relevant in the time it would take you to unlock him.
For one character.
Yeah.
One. There's multiple, right? Don't piss on my Cheerios and tell me it's Honey Nut. Like,
exactly.
That's crazy.
If you're gonna piss on me, just have the common courtesy to call it rain. If you want to have me buy something, just say that. Don't pretend like I can earn the character or whatever it is, the exclusive content, through some other way. That's just nonsense. It's wild. So I'm glad that people actually spoke up and they like boycotted the game. The game did fucking terrible. And then EA changed their tune, and that's what needs to happen with some of these other things that we're talking about. But
100%. But with all that said, in a bright note, Project L looks amazing. If you haven't heard of it or know about it or looked at the new update, if you're a fan of fighting games or a fan of League of Legends or just interested in general, look it up on YouTube. The Project L reveal trailer. It's whatever the most recent one is. There was one like 2 years ago, not that one, obviously. Look at the most recent one. Came out like a day ago.
It does look good. Maybe I'll actually play this one. I haven't played a non-platform fighter in a while. Like, pretty much Smash is the only fighting game that I've played in the last several years. I've been just so, I don't know, Smash is so good to me. I mean, obviously Smash is a fucking amazing game, but 4 and Ultimate I really, really like, because 4 up until Bayonetta, there wasn't like...
We played that game a lot.
We did play it a lot, and I think that's part of the reason why I like this so much, is because I have good experiences with like playing it like every weekend almost. We pretty much would play for hours and hours.
I literally took the train down to your house every single weekend.
Yeah,
spend the weekend at your house,
and we would play it constantly. We would have hour-long sessions, then we would play some DC deck building, and then we go back to playing Smash, and that was like a whole weekend. And those weekends were great, and they seemed extremely long. I don't know, just a really good time in my life. So that's why Smash 4 has like this really nice pedestal in my head. But I think that game was really like a really good game. It had its balance issues at first with like Diddy and then Sheik and then Rosalina. But then the good thing about that game was that it had patches. And they were able to literally patch the Meta Knights. So it wasn't just, and then the real Meta Knight came at the end, Bayonetta. And at that point, I had already bowed out of that game. Like I was already kind of done with it when she came out. So I knew that she was absurdly broken and she pretty much won everything from the time she came out until the end of it. But she was the last character. And it kind of was one of those things where I felt like they did that shit on purpose because there's just no way that you didn't realize this character was tier 0. So I felt like they did it on purpose. But I do like Smash Ultimate a lot. I think it's the most balanced Smash games. A lot of the pro players also agree that Smash Ultimate is the most balanced of any Smash game ever. Like, whatever game can you say that out of 85 characters, because it literally has 85 or 86 characters, out of 80 plus characters, over half the cast is viable and has won tournaments and can win tournaments. Even if your character, so like there's like 20 top tier characters, like that's the highest tier. And then there's a ton, there's like 40 high tier characters or something like that. And then you have like your bottom tiers. The characters who are high tier, even if they're low high tier, can still beat a top tier character, which is not how Smash games tended to go in the past. If you were that low on the tier list, you couldn't contend with, let's say, the first, second, or third character. But like now, like for example, and also obviously through patches and buffs and nerfs, other characters can rise up. So like right now, one of the things that's being talked about a lot in Smash Ultimate is that Jigglypuff is viable now because she got some crazy buffs when Sora came out. She now has, they call it Jair. Like she has jab into like back air and jab into forward air and stuff like that. So there's like all these Jair combos now. And she has like new rest setups and all types of shit that make her. So she's been like terrorizing the scene and even getting like top 8 at majors where like MKLeo has been and like tweaking them. Like it's so the character went from, being like okay to being like, holy shit. Like I have to know the Jigglypuff matchup now.
That's fucking nuts.
And that's cool because Jigglypuff is not top tier. She is at best like low, high tier. But I say all that to say like the game is just really balanced and weird characters. Today I watched a major in Europe and a guy was playing DDD and he was in winner's side of grand finals up against Gluttony, who is the best European player ever. And in Smash Ultimate, I mean, he's the best European player in Smash Ultimate, Gluttony, and he plays Wario. And so the other guy who's in winner's side plays Sonic and DDD. And he got there like through winner semis and like winners quarters by playing DDD and just destroying people.
And DDD is not
DFD's bottom tier. I want to be clear.
High tier.
DDD is not high tier and not top tier. DDD is, and he bodied these people. Like I watched the matches and I couldn't believe it. This happened today. Like this tournament concluded today. I watched it on Twitch and I could not believe that a DDD was beating Pyra and Mithra, who are arguably the best characters in the game now. Literally got bodied. And it's just, I don't know. I really like things that are balanced and things that are well done. But on top of that, it's like, even with Smash being so good, it has the worst online experience out of every fighting game probably out right now. I don't think there's a single fighting game worse than Smash.
It's so bad.
Which is weird to say because it also like theoretically just has the most money out of any other fighting game back then, right? Like it's just so weird to even say like Smash has the worst online experience, but it actually factually does.
It's frustrating to say that the game that has Mario, Luigi, Sonic, Pac-Man, Ryu, Ken, Cloud, Sephiroth, Sora, Mega Man, like that game has imagine how like that game has the worst online. Come on, man.
It's it's really bad. I mean, I'm glad that these games like Project L are coming out that are blatantly marketing to us. We're going for an online experience that is palatable for our audience. We're not making some shit that just like put like a cash grab and you're going to have an awful time playing it. I do think that's a really good thing. And speaking of that, this goes right into the next fighting game that I think is coming a lot sooner. Multiversus was recently announced this week by Warner Bros. So this game looks crazy. They market it heavily as like a 2v2, but it does have a 1v1 aspect. But there's also
a 2v2
Smash game. Fighter.
It's a platform fighter Smash game.
Yep, looks like Smash. And it has characters like Batman and Superman, Wonder Woman. It also has characters like Bugs Bunny,
Finn and Jake from Adventure Time,
Arya Stark, Garnet.
Arya Stark. Can I just say what random? I saw the lineup. I'm watching it and I was like, "Who the fuck is that girl with the sword?"
And then she said something about House Stark, and I said, "Wait a fucking minute." She put her sword up and said for House Stark, and I said, "Wait a goddamn minute."
And then one of the developers said, like, we've got iconic characters like Bugs Bunny, Tom and Jerry, Arya Stark. I was like, what?
Shaggy's in it, and he's like Ultra Instinct Shaggy or whatever. Like
they got the Super Saiyan meme Shaggy in there.
Yes, so clearly this is a company that has listened to the internet because it seems like a lot of internet memes have made it into the game as actual characters. I think that's really cool. They, the whole Shaggy being Super Saiyan and being like one of the most powerful entities in all of fantasy.
Yeah.
That was a meme for a while, a couple years back. And so seeing him literally power up like a Super Saiyan, I mean, he literally has Vegeta's aura.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, the game
100%.
looks really good. A lot of random characters all coming together as, that's the Smash model. They're just following it, but they have rollback netcode already. Like that's already just a thing. So by default, the online experience will just be better than Smash already.
Yep.
And they, the roster starting off small. The roster starting off pretty much the same as the first ever Smash game. It's like that small. But there's going to be characters added, I'm sure, because that's just
something that's important about this game. That this gives this game potential. This game's free to play, and a lot of people have whatever their pros and cons of free to play. But here's the thing with free to play and what they're doing. If they do it right, and so far it looks like they care, but we'll see. If they just make it free to play, where the thing you spend money on are various cosmetics, skins, etc., as long as you never have to pay for characters. And they add, because when you make a free to play game, you now make a game that you can add characters to over time. You just add them to the rotation, and you add skins to make your money. This game could get crazy.
Yeah, and they did mention that one of the things they will be monetizing are the skins and stuff like that. So they're very
they showed like Shaggy and like a fucking like a Bruce Lee martial law skin.
Yeah,
that shit's crazy.
Yeah, and the interesting thing I thought about that is you saw he was moving. You were just doing it. People on Patreon who are watching this video. Like the way he moved was like Bruce Lee /
he was like doing the bounce with the hands
and
shit.
I don't know if that was maybe a taunt or something or special to that costume, but like it almost seemed like it changed his natural stance, which I think is really cool because I've never seen something like that before. Like the character, and generally when a skin happens, it's just literally that, a skin. It's not a change of how the character moves. So he was moving like Bruce Lee. I thought that was funny.
It looks great. Look, imagine Arya Stark. She might have like a Daenerys skin. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was telling Gary that I think that it would be really cool if Daenerys is a character that they add to the game and she has like the dragon.
Yeah.
Like I don't know the logistics of how they would do it, but somehow Drogon like Dracarys and then Drogon like this. I don't know. They'll figure out a way to do it and make it look cool. But that would be really nice.
The fact that they have a Game of Thrones character, which is I just still don't understand even how.
Me either.
It's so random.
I was really shocked about it. And that also means that Jon Snow could be a character. Because realistically, they're going to include characters who are like fighters in the show too. So Jon Snow's one of the best fighters in the show. Pretty much never lost a fight. So I can see
get some Khal Drogo.
Khal Drogo would be nice at some point. There's a lot. Bronn, the Hound, the mountain that rides. Like there's a lot of characters from Game of Thrones they could draw from. They also, and this is where it might get difficult. They also have actual fucking voice acting.
Yes, like they have the voice actor. They have Batman's voice actor.
They have fucking Arya Stark. Maisie Williams is actually Arya Stark's voice.
That is so crazy.
Like the actual Arya Stark.
I just want to say real quick, I heard some people say like, oh, this game is being made as like a cash grab after the Nickelodeon game, blah, blah. I don't know if that's not how game development works. The Nickelodeon game like just sort of came out, and this Warner Brothers game like just got announced not that long afterwards. And if you look at like both of these games were being made a year ago, 2 years ago.
Concurrently.
Like, these games are being made without knowing about each other.
Yeah, they were being developed concurrently.
Yeah, they got this voice acting talent. Like, it's just complete coincidence. Like they got this voice acting talent before knowing that Nickelodeon game was being made.
Yeah, it's not
these games aren't shots at each other.
Yeah, it's not like this whole movement of platform fighters is happening. That's not really what it is. It's just pure coincidence that two platform fighters are coming out pretty much back to back. I will say this, the Nickelodeon game, when it first was announced and like came out, I watched a lot of the content. I even watched some tournaments on Twitch, and I saw some of the Smash players who played it, like Void. He won a major or whatever, but it wasn't like, I shouldn't even call it a major. It was like an online tournament. Had a lot of people, and I think the best players and everything, but it wasn't what you would call a major, I guess. Anyway, the point is, I watched the gameplay, and this is before they really started patching out all of the crazy stuff. So in that tournament, he played Aang, and Aang could nair you like 9 times before you could actually react to it and get out of it. The person doesn't drop the combo, so it's just like him jumping up and down and just nairing you. And the attack is so fucking fast, basically unreactable. Once you get hit by 1, you're bound to get hit by 8 more. What's scary about that game also is that there's no scaling of the moves. So whatever damage they do, that's just it. Like that move. So that move, every time it hit you, I think it did like 9. So you do 9 times 9. You're taking some absurd amount of damage, like 81 damage from just that. And there was a lot of things I didn't like about it. One, no voice acting. So just immediately, like, you know, the sound of the game sounded pretty bad to me. Like,
Yeah, it
okay,
falls a little flat.
yeah, the sound of like Aang hitting you would be like, whoosh, 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 whoosh.
Yeah.
And pretty much every hit in the game sounded like, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh.
Yep.
And I really didn't like that part. And also SpongeBob has a lot of iconic things that he says and noises that he makes. They're just not in the game. Like, I'm ready. Like none of that. Like you get none of that iconic SpongeBobisms. There's so many, right? Like you think about SpongeBob, there's so many things that SpongeBob could say, and that's just not a thing. Patrick, his big dopey voice that he has, that laugh, like there's none of that. And I think that until I saw that game, the Nickelodeon's All-Star Brawl, I didn't realize how important it was to have voice acting and have real sounds.
Yeah.
Like I take it for granted because Smash is all I've ever known, and Smash has always had the characters speaking or just like
all that's very important.
Saying things from their actual game.
That shit's exciting. Like in Dragon Ball FighterZ, just as an example, that game having full-on voice acting while the fights, like that's hype. Like there's a part, like if Goku does a super Kamehameha, in general, he'll just like do it and he'll say like Kamehameha, whatever. But if he does it to like Vegeta, if you're specifically fighting Vegeta, he'll say like, try this one, Vegeta. You know, like those little touches, like that makes the game feel clean and just you really appreciate the sound design and everything that goes into the game when it has those touches.
Yep, I agree. So I didn't realize it until Nickelodeon All-Stars Brawl, but I always kept saying to myself, the game looks kind of cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Like something about it looks cheaply made. Like a fan-made project. Like something that literally people, and not to shit on fan-made projects, because some of them are fantastic, but it just looked like a cheaply made.
It was a budget. It was a lower budget project.
It looked like it was budget, and people kept comparing it to Smash, which I hate because you're comparing something again. You're comparing the top of the mountain to like something that's just new. This is their first installment, so you're comparing Ultimate basically, or I guess even Melee. People were comparing it to Melee because that's what it was really trying to be with wave dashing and all that, because it's supposed to be really competitive. So people were comparing it to Melee, and I also didn't like that comparison either because Melee is also like an Apex in a way. Like it's not the latest, but it is the Apex of Smash as far as competitive play. So I don't know. I didn't like the comparisons, and the game is right now is not doing too hot. Being honest, I was watching a main stage. It's a super major actually that happened last weekend. Major meaning that international people were there, so Japanese, European, like Gluttony was there, T from Japan was there. A lot of Japanese players were there. European players were there. Obviously, all the Mexicans were there. So like MKLeo, Spargo, and they're like the best players in the world. Meister is also Mexican, and Chag, I believe, is also Mexican. Mexicans are literally in Smash Ultimate by far the best players. The best player in the world is also from Mexico, MKLeo. So
damn, none of them play Terry Bogard. What the fuck?
You know, the best Terry Bogard is Riddles. He's an Asian guy from America, I believe. But so yeah, watching main stage, there was somebody recorded what it looked like. The Smash, they had the audience for Smash Ultimate.
That's fucked up. This is fucked up.
You already know where this is going.
This is so fucked up. Why did you don't gotta do this?
So they took a video of the audience for Smash Ultimate, like people watching, and it was hundreds of people. And then they like panned the camera over just a couple feet, and they were like, "Here's the audience for Nickelodeon All Stars Brawl," and it was completely empty.
Y'all ain't gotta do that. That's not right.
It was fucking so empty that like if you needed a seat because there were no more seats for Smash Ultimate, you could just grab one of their chairs and bring it over to the Ultimate side, and no one could even get mad at you. Like, yo, that's our chair. Like, who the fuck are you talking to?
That's not right, yo. You don't have to do
chairs. You could have took their chairs, and none of them could have said it. The 4 people in the audience could have said shit.
You know what that reminds me of? Back in the day, there'd be a tournament, right? And you'd be watching like a Smash 4 tournament.
Yeah.
And the tournament would be happening at the same time as a Melee tournament. And so you'd be watching a Smash 4 tournament, and then you would hear the crowd from the Melee tournament go, "Mango, Mango, Mango."
Yeah, in the background. Like, I remember that.
Holy shit.
I remember that. And I was like, damn, that game was at the time like 15 years old. And I was like, holy shit, that thing is getting more hype than the game that has literally come out recently. But that's just, that's sometimes how it goes. The only thing that can really compete with Smash is Smash. So there's that.
But all that to say, this Warner Brothers game, I actually do like the way it looks graphically.
I do too, but it does look a little slow in the actual movement. And I'm hoping that the final product doesn't look as... it just
Same.
looked
I
a
agree.
little laggy-ish. Like I'm not
To
sure how
me,
to.
it almost looked like the video was slowed down. Like it looked
It did.
unnaturally slow. So I'm
It
hoping
did.
that it was just a problem with the video.
I agree with you. I feel like it did look unnaturally. So it didn't look like that's how the game played. I imagine it's going to be a lot faster on drop, on
I
release.
hope.
I don't think that it's going to look like that. But Esam, I watched a video of him reacting to it, like a bunch of other Smash players reacting to it. And Esam said, I am a little concerned about how slow the game looks, but it does look like it has a lot of promise at the same time. Like a lot of unique things. The one character from maybe Adventure Time or one of those things, he like stretched his body really long vertically and like blocked a couple characters from recovering. I
Yeah,
thought it was
yeah.
cool. One character has like a smoke bomb, but they were laughing, saying like, I can still fucking see them. Like I'm confused. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like I can shield my ally from everyone else's vision, but like I can just see them. So maybe that move wasn't described the best. I feel like it's going to do something and not just be like literally a smoke bomb. Like I can still see you.
Yeah.
But the game looks really fun.
I'm interested in the fact that its focus is on 2v2 on team-based play, because it being a free-to-play game and an online focused game, you like a League of Legends, for example.
Yeah,
you making the game 2v2 in mind could really help the game stand out from the other quote unquote Smash clones.
Yeah, that's true. I was a little worried about that though, and I still kind of am, as them pushing the 2v2 aspect so much. But because I've never, and this is just a personal thing, I've never really been too big into 2v2 anything. And when I say 2v2, I don't mean games that have like you pick a character and you pick a support, or you pick a character that you could tag out into. I don't mind that. Like I don't mind Marvel vs. Capcom 3. I don't mind Dragon Ball, the newest Dragon Ball game. Excuse me. But when they say 2v2, they mean literally like Kenny and I are on a team. Like the actual person. There are two actual people against two other actual people. Now, with it being online, it will be easier, I guess, to get a partner. But it does also mean that you're kind of like reliant on someone else, like a partner, and having to find like, oh, if I'm playing, let's say I want to do free to play, like because Kenny's not around, he's at work, but I want to practice. We have like an Arya Stark Batman team. I would hope that when I go online and do like, oh, just online quick match, I can choose who I want my partner to be, and it'll only link me up with a Batman.
That'd be cool, yeah.
Like you see, like something like that.
Yeah.
Like this is just an idea I'm throwing out, because if I know that Kenny is a Batman main, I don't really want to practice with someone who's a Superman main, for example.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
that'd be cool.
Yeah, there's just like little, and this probably is easy as fuck to implement. But I'm just throwing out things that I'm hoping for, and like little things that kind of scare me. It's just I've never been into 2v2, so if the game's main form of play is not 1v1, I'm not really sure how much I'll personally be interested in it. But they do have a 1v1 mode, and I'm hoping that 1v1 mode is as developed and has as much care put into it as the 2v2 mode.
Yeah, same. The thing that makes me excited about the 2v2 is just that at least from my perspective, the trend I've seen with games that really get popular, like Rocket League, a lot of shooting games, League of Legends, etc. These games get popular, and it's easier to play them because you can play them with a friend, right?
Yeah.
The thing that makes a lot of fighting games hard to play is that they're solo adventures. You're just always alone. You're playing by yourself. You're playing online by yourself. Yeah. You're getting your ass kicked. You're getting your ass kicked by yourself. Whereas with a team-based game, it's you and somebody else. Yeah. And so there's somebody to climb with you, you know?
What a way to start fights, too, between friends.
Yeah, right?
Because that, I already know. Like, damn, dog, you couldn't even help me recover. Like, I could just imagine. But yeah, there's, like you said, there's definitely positives to it as well. It being online and also having rollback netcode, so it'll be hopefully they said they have dedicated servers.
Yeah,
they mentioned that like they're going to make dedicated servers for it and everything. Also really focused on the online experience. They had a whole bit about it. I do think that it will be much better to see than watching Smash online stuff was god awful, because the entire tier list changed for Smash because of its online. Literally, heavies were at the top of the tier list, and characters like Fox, who's top tier and just won a major, like Light, the best Fox in the world, just won a major like a month ago. But Fox was unplayable online because
Ness was ruining people online.
Oh, Ness is crazy online.
Ness is an online monster.
PK Fire is unreactable online.
So
you have to just
offline,
assume that they're going to do PK Ness. Fire. Now, offline, Ness gets, for the most part, Ness gets bodied offline. Like, yeah, there's some Ness, like Best Ness and like a couple others that are okay. But Ness mains do not make it into like top 8, really. You may get one in top 64, but you will never. Well, not never, but I shouldn't say never. But like so far there have been no nests really in like top 8 of a major tournament in Smash.
Offline,
Really offline specifically.
Online, they've put in work.
Yeah, and I just hate that the fact the tier list changes so drastically. Like this is okay. The best character in the game, arguably, is Joker. Also unplayable online.
Yeah,
He's just unplayable online, and the reason being there's a natural 5 frames of input lag at the minimum. Like just 5 frames of input lag at the minimum for online Smash, and then that's not even talking about connection lag that's just also there as well. A lot of Jokers, because he's one of those fast and nimble characters who's also very light, so easy to kill, but very, very good frame data. A lot of his combos require precision, and precision online is just not realistic. And so the best player in the world, MKLeo, that's how he started playing Byleth, who's much heavier than Joker and also has really slow but hard-hitting moves that offline, so we thought, offline, these moves probably wouldn't land as easily as they do online. And he was winning online with it, with Byleth, and then offline. We
also, Byleth's buttons are just big.
Yes.
Like, Byleth has big buttons.
Yeah, the hitboxes are big, and they're big and slow. But even offline, it came to, we found out that Leo was actually God regardless. But the point is, offline, Byleth is probably at the top of high tier, but not quite top tier. And online, she's probably like, or he, because you could choose the gender of the character, but online, Byleth is probably top 5 characters in the entire Smash. Out of all 86, he's like probably
another character that's good but is bad online is Wolf, similar to Fox. Like, I think all 3, Fox, Falco, Wolf, are all characters that are harder to play online because their combos are pretty tight and pretty precise.
Yeah,
and doing those combos online just is not consistent with unstable connections and packet loss, etc.
Yep. So I really don't like that, and I'm glad that these newer fighting games that are coming out will not have that problem where the whole tier list is like, oh, I'll play Donkey Kong. It's like, do you play Donkey Kong online?
Yeah, right.
Because then it's like, well, I'm scared. But if you play Donkey Kong offline, it's like, well, you're just combo food for the most part.
Yeah. So yeah, it's good that finally we had old games that did it, but it wasn't the norm. Finally, it feels like it's becoming the norm where like our online for fighting games is going to be really, 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 really good. So yeah. I'm excited for that.
Well, let's move into one of our last topics. The Spider-Man No Way Home trailer released this week. I think it's the second trailer. And this one was a lot more revealing and a lot more upfront with the villains that are going to be in it. So they're bringing back the original Dr. Octavius from Spider-Man 2, when Tobey Maguire was playing him. Green Goblin is back. The Sandman is back. Lizard Man. From the Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield, we have Jamie Foxx back reprising his role as Electro.
Yep.
And there's probably more. Because did you see the Venom movie, the newest one?
No, wait. Did the sequel?
Let there be Carnage. Yeah, there's like a Venom. Let there be Carnage.
I know that there was a Venom movie, and I know there was a sequel in the works. I don't know the sequel. Anyway, I didn't see Venom. No.
Okay, there's a new. You should watch it because I know you don't like watching things out of order. So you should go back and watch that one. Just download it. However.
Yeah, I didn't.
It actually has
connected.
The movie is really bad.
That's fine. I watch a lot of bad Marvel movies.
But I know it's one of the ones that is unwatchable after you see it once. You'll never watch it again. But it has a post-credit scene. Won't spoil it. But I think that it's kind of already like, because I already brought it up. You're smart enough to pick up on where I'm going with this already. But there's a lot of villains in this No Way Home movie.
Yeah.
And people are alluding to like the Sinister Six, but they only show 5 villains, I'm pretty sure. So everyone's asking who's going to be the 6th villain. There's speculation that it's Hobgoblin. I think there was like a screenshot that I saw of someone on a glider, but it was not Green Goblin at all. It was like, holy shit, is that Hobgoblin or is that like something? So there's speculation about who this person is going to be as the 6th, if they're going to complete the Sinister Six. And so that's one of the things that's big about the movie. It's also cool that you're getting the actual actors of these old movies, like the guy who played Doc Ock is literally reprising his role. And like I said, Jamie Foxx is reprising his role. A part of controversy that came out this week, though, and this is what I really wanted to discuss, people all of a sudden are like, oh, I heard that the original 2 Spider-Man, like Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, are not in the movie because they've been going on interviews and saying, like, I don't know why people think that we're in it, but like we're actually just 100% not. Like, I've not filmed anything. And I'm like, people act like they've never heard of an NDA. They act like they never, like, actors have never lied about being in something. Also, I don't think this movie would make sense the way Marvel has set up the multiverse. with Loki and like WandaVision, like all these other things where you see like the multiverse coming into play and us having variants and all types of things, right? Now, it will be strange to bring back all of Spider-Man's villains and
not
not
those two.
have, not these two. It's just, I just
So
don't believe that they're not in the movie. I think that they 100% are, and people kept pointing to like, oh, they're not in any of the trailers. But I just want to throw this out before you get your point across. In the Civil War, this is the most recent one I can think of. In the Civil War trailer, Spider-Man, I'm pretty sure was just not in it. I'm pretty sure that they showed scenes that were literally, when you watch the movie and when you go back and watch the trailer, the scenes play out differently. It's the scene where they're all running towards each other. So you see like Ant-Man.
I think that's true.
Yep.
I think I remember that being true.
Exactly. So my point is, Marvel in the past, there's also an Infinity War trailer that shows the Hulk, and he's actually in Hulk form running in Wakanda. That never happens at any point in Infinity War. You know that.
Yeah, because he gets
yes, he gets his shit beat. So the Hulk, there's a scene in the trailer for Infinity War where you see the Hulk, Bucky, Captain America, Black Panther, and a couple other people. That scene doesn't take place at any point in Infinity War. It's literally a trailer only scene, and this has happened a ton of times, not just with like Marvel movies, but with other movies too. And Malibu's Most Wanted, the trailer for that, there's a part that like there's a really corny line that he says in the trailer, and it's just not in the movie.
Yeah.
So stuff like that has been happening forever, and people seem to have forgotten that, like, one, NDAs exist. Two, trailers can be misleading, which is why I don't really care for trailers in general. I also think they usually spoil a little too much.
Yep.
So Kenny and I really don't watch trailers, but like because we do this podcast now, it's more of an obligation for us to do so. Just have it, because like he didn't even watch the trailer until 5 minutes before the podcast started.
Yeah, I didn't. I would literally, I was like, all right, let me watch this trailer real quick.
Yeah, he normally would not have watched it. He would have just watched the Spider-Man movie and didn't get surprised to see. I mean, I guess you would have been surprised to see all those villains coming back or whatever.
Oh, I knew Doc Ock was in it, but I didn't know it was going to have fucking Sandman, the Lizard Man, Electro.
Yep.
So
Green Goblin, all of that. Yeah,
it's got a whole squad. So a couple things. One, this is a movie that I think I have to see day one, because this is a movie that can get spoiled.
I think it's going to get spoiled real bad, Kenny. So I'm glad that you want to see it. And honestly,
I think I'm down. I'll go with you. Like,
I was going to say it together. Yeah, we should probably. So whenever it's time to book tickets, I will let you know. I think tickets go on sale soon. So we do need to see this day one. I agree.
Yeah, 100%. Because this is a movie that'll get spoiled. Like,
yeah, this is definitely a spoiled movie. Especially if there's death, which I think there might be. And even if it ends up getting fucking reversed by Doctor Strange, because he has all that time magic and all. But still, like I don't want to be like, oh, this character died, but they were brought back, or like, or if this character actually just died, right? Like if this character died, I don't want to have that spoiled. People will post memes and all types of shit because they love to be funny, but they don't realize like that shit is also problematic when you're posting things that someone hasn't seen yet, because movie tickets get sold out. People have obligations where they couldn't see it on the first day. You know how the internet is, and I hate having to stay off the internet. Like I hate that so much, even though I'm one of those people who, like, when Game of Thrones was airing, I told people, like, do not go on the internet if you haven't seen the newest episode of Game of Thrones. And like those last two seasons, before we realized they were awful, when Game of Thrones would come out on Sunday night, I told people, like, if you can't see it immediately, like when it's airing, just don't go online. I'm
for real.
Like, just because you know what you're going to see. Especially Game of Thrones has so much death and character, like shocking death.
Yeah, you're going to see something.
Something's going to happen. You might see Daenerys being stabbed by Jon Snow. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, that might just be a thing. So I feel like this Spider-Man movie is going to have a lot of spoiler memes and tweets. And I don't want to have to forgo going on Instagram or being scared to go on Facebook. So I think the best thing for us to do is just watch it day one.
Yep.
And also, it's probably going to be a really good movie. Although I do have like one slight fear. A lot of people seem to forget because the hype is so high for this movie. But Spider-Man 3, the one with Tobey Maguire, the one that had Venom, Sandman, and who else? There was a third villain in that movie.
Wasn't Hobgoblin-ish?
I think it's Hobgoblin. I think it's also, yes, I think it's all three of them. So that movie had three villains in it, and it was awful.
Yeah, the big problem with that is with that movie is that too many villains.
Too many villains and too much going on. Like, it was also a movie where Spider-Man became, like, he got the Venom symbiote.
Yeah.
So you have like a lot happening in one movie, and there wasn't enough time in 2 hours, especially movies back then. They didn't really go over that 2 hour mark. Back then, the movies a lot of times were like an hour and a half to 1 hour and 45 minutes. They're blatantly going over a lot more now. Like this movie coming out, No Way Home, is already scheduled to be over 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Good.
So it's long.
It needs it. It needs
it though. It's a very long movie, but also every movie I've seen, Eternals, 2 hours and 30 minutes long or more. Pretty much everything except that new Venom movie was over 2 hours, and thank God that Venom movie was not longer, because
I'm gonna dread watching that.
It's really bad, dog. It's so fucking bad. But my point is, my fear is that there's a lot going. Doctor Strange is in this movie. He's the one who causes this whole thing to happen, because Spider-Man wishes that people didn't realize who he really was, that Peter Parker. So he like tries to like stop that from happening. He like does some kind of spell, but the spell unlocks it. Well, I think the spell unlocks all of the other villains coming in, looking for Peter Parker. And there's one scene where Doc Ock's like, "You're not Peter Parker."
Yeah. So couple things. One, I agree that there's a lot going on, but we've come a long way. Marvel writers have, done things like Infinity War.
Yep. So and there's a lot going on in those too. And, but it's done well, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, they're a lot better. Also, this movie has the benefit. Spider-Man 3 tried to establish all those villains and Spider-Man's twist all in one movie. Tried to do too much in one. Whereas this movie, I don't think they're going to spend much time establishing the villains.
Because we know them.
Because we know them, exactly.
And that is one of the strengths. Like, even when Infinity War and Endgame, it's assumed you watched every Marvel movie leading up to them.
Yep. So that helps them.
Yeah, you don't have to be like, who the fuck is why is Black Panther being introduced in this movie?
Yeah,
He's like, no, Black Panther was first seen in Civil War. And he got a little bit of development there. Then he got his entire movie by himself, like not by himself, but like he got a whole movie, the Black Panther movie, to get further development. So when you see him in Infinity War, it's like, oh, I know who this guy is.
Exactly.
So hopefully they do the same thing where they don't spend too much time going over like the backstories of all the Spider-Man's old villains. I think that would be really cool if they just kind of like assume that we know that, because we do. And if you go to this movie without watching the original 5 Spider-Man movies, then that's on you.
Yeah, I agree. On the note of Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, here's what I'll say. On one end, there's always a little part of you that's a little scared, like, damn, what if they really aren't in it? That would suck.
Yes, I did think about that, but I did think about it. I keep throwing that thought away.
Yeah, but that's one of the reasons why I have to see it day one, because they're doing a beautiful. If they are in it, they're doing a beautiful thing not putting them in the trailers.
Yes,
because that's going to be a moment when you see.
Because they want it to be hype, and I think that there's nothing wrong with them wanting that shit to be hype. You know those epic ass anime scenes where a ton of characters show up at once, and it's like, like just think about the war arc in One Piece.
Yeah.
It's like really epic to see all the admirals together like that, and to see like Shanks and then Whitebeard and then Blackbeard, and so yes, this movie having multiple epic characters. Go ahead.
Here's another thing I'll say though. They didn't show Tobey Maguire and Andrew and whatever the fuck his name is, Andrew Garfield. I was supposed to say Mick Garfield, which whatever. Anyway,
not Mick Garfield.
But they didn't show them specifically. They didn't show their faces. But like you said, Doc Ock says you're not Peter Parker. That leads you to think like, okay, is the other Peter Parker going to be in this movie?
I think that line specifically tells me that the other ones are going to be in it. I think.
Also, unless I didn't see it correctly, I feel like we saw a black suit Spider-Man in that movie.
Yeah. I don't know what that was about. I think it might have been a Tony Stark creation, but it did look very...
But yeah, to me, it seemed like when we see Tom Holland, he's in his Spider-Man suits.
Yes. But you definitely see there's definitely a black suit.
So I'm wondering if that's Tobey Maguire. You know what I mean? Like I don't know.
Yeah, that's also true. But I definitely remember seeing that black suit shit going on. Some people pointed out something about Doc Ock's the tentacles that he has, the metal arms. They start off the way they looked in Spider-Man 2, but then in another clip in the same trailer, I believe that they look like they were enhanced by some Tony Stark technologies, as if he like broke into Stark Enterprises and upgraded. Yeah. And like with the nanotechnology, like how Tony Stark's his armor in Infinity War, it grows out of his body.
Yep.
It was speculated because there's a side by side of both the arms, and they were like, well, clearly when he first got to Tom Holland's universe, he had his regular arms, and then at some point he must have like broken the Stark Enterprise and got an upgrade, which is scary. So these villains might all be getting an upgrade, because even Jamie Foxx, his Electro looks way better in this trailer. It looks really like he has the crown that Electro actually has in like the cartoons and stuff. When you see like the boys, those dumbass boys memes, he has that crown. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
He has that crown, but it's made out of electricity, and it looks really cool. As opposed to if you saw the fucking horrible movie where Gwen Stacy dies and Electro's like the main villain, he looks not too great. Like Jamie Foxx, and also I just think that he was a terrible pick for that role. But that's neither here nor there right now. I am just glad that they do have a lot going on, and we are a bit more confident that they'll be able to take care of it because of the last projects they had, where there was a ton going on, and it wasn't really bad.
I'm excited. I'm scared. On one end, like I feel like they have to have the other Spider-Mans in it, and it would be just a really, really cool thing. Into the Spider-Verse was such a cool movie, and doing something like that here would be amazing. I'm a little, if they're not there, that would suck, but that's one of the reasons why I feel like I have to see it day one.
Yep.
Because I don't want outside confirmation if they are or they aren't. Like I want to watch the movie myself.
It would be funny as shit though if somehow Miles Morales is actually in the movie.
Like
they just straight have a he's cartoon and everything CG.
Dude, a cartoon one that would be
he like literally is in the movie like that. Or
that would be so sick.
Or he comes to Tom Holland's universe and they make him into a human. Like the human version of him is just, and like when he comes to the universe, he becomes a regular, live action person. They like,
it'd be cool if there's like a scene you see him as a cartoon and like he goes into the universe and like you see him like uncartoonify.
Yes, like he becomes a real person. I don't know who the actor would be, but here's another thing. And I guess maybe not as many people saw this, but Tom Holland in an interview this week, I think it just came out. Tom Holland said on set, a lot of people were forced to wear robes that covered their entire bodies and their faces. He said he bumped into the guy who plays Green Goblin, and he actually took his like face covering off, and he was like, "Holy shit, you're here! I didn't know." So Tom Holland saying that, and like obviously he's under an NDA too, but him saying that tells me that why wouldn't he? Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, they're probably also on set but fully covered as well.
Yeah.
And also, everyone's just told to lie about them being in a movie. Like, I'm sure.
Yeah, 100%. Man, if they are in it, I really hope they are. It's going to be such a moment, and it's going to suck if you don't see it day one because it will be spoiled. When the curtain is down, like it'll be the first thing you see on Instagram, Facebook, everywhere, every news outlet. Because news outlets don't care. They'll have the scene. Like it could be fucking Spider-Man getting a sword through his goddamn chest and him taking his mask off. That'll be the front page of like the blog. It'll be like Tobey Maguire's in the new Spider-Man with him bleeding out of his mouth and shit.
Yes.
Like they don't care.
Speaking of bleeding out their mouth, did you see how fucked up Tom Holland looked in this movie too?
Yeah.
Like how beat up he looked. He looked really bad. This movie's gonna be emotional, I'm thinking. There was a part where they showed Zendaya, the Mary Jane from his universe. She was falling, and all I kept thinking was there would be a really cool scene if Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man, swoops in and saves her and says, "Not again."
Ooh, that'd be tight.
Because she's falling to her death, and you know what happened to Gwen Stacy? Like she got fucking her back broken, and that was used for like memes and all types of stuff.
Yeah, but when I saw that part in the trailer, I was like, "Oh no!"
Yeah, seeing her fall like that. So that was my exact thought. Seeing her fall like that, I said, "Oh, this is gonna be so fucking cool if they just have a little part where." Is like not again, and he swoops in, and maybe that might even be his entrance, and he saves her.
That'd be amazing
because it's like he's probably going to be depressed in this movie, I'd imagine. Yeah, talking about how much his life was affected. And like you don't want to lose, don't let her go out like that. I'm telling you, it's the worst mistake I ever made. Letting the love of my life die. So there might be some kind of thing between him and Tom Holland about not letting the love of his life go out like that.
Yeah.
Which will be really emotional. I'm excited about all of the.
Wait, do you know what the release date is?
The around Christmas, I think, or like December 18th or something like that. Actually, let me just look it up.
Okay. Yeah, because I definitely want to see it day one. I don't want to take any chances.
Yeah,
because I'm gonna be pissed either way. If I find out they're definitely not in it, or I find out they definitely are in it, I'm gonna be pissed. Like I just want to see the movie.
Yeah. So it comes out December 17th.
All right, cool.
Then. The crazy thing about December is that the next week, so Christmas week, The Matrix comes out.
Oh, yeah. I keep forgetting there's a Matrix reboot.
So I forgot too, but I was at a Friendsgiving yesterday, and one of the people I met there brought it up. And we talked about that in Spider-Man, how those last 2 weeks of December are going to be epic as hell. So I'm excited about both. Obviously, Spider-Man probably a bit more, but I love The Matrix. The Matrix is one of the most iconic things that has ever happened. So we will do a podcast episode on The Matrix as a whole. All the 3 original movies plus this new movie that's coming out, Resurrection or whatever it's called. We will do a podcast episode on that at some point, and and we will obviously do an episode on No Way Home. There will be an episode just for No Way Home because that movie's going to be.
Oh yeah,
that's going to be the talk of the town. Yeah, and then because
Easy.
Kenny's also seeing it day one, it will be timely too. So it'll probably go right from us seeing it and then podcast episode like right away.
Let me see. December 17th is Friday, so the Sunday recording will be Spider-Man.
Yes, that Sunday. Yep, the 19th will be Spider-Man, and then it will come out on the 20th. So, and then we will probably be taking a break the same way we're doing for Thanksgiving week. We'll be taking a break for Christmas. So that No Way Home episode.
That'll be the last one before Christmas,
before Christmas and New Year's, I think.
Yeah.
If I'm thinking about the calendar right.
Because the 20.
Yeah, we actually might be able to do an episode on the 22nd. It looks like because it's still. Let me see, 22nd.
Yeah, possibly.
Possibly. It depends on what our schedules look like, but we might take that week off, and then we'll figure it out though.
Yeah, but then Christmas into New Year's is going to be fucking hectic.
Yes, always. So I'm really excited about the Spider-Man movie. I'm excited about the Matrix, and yeah, that's this wraps up episode. Was it 34? I believe we're starting to get to the point where I can't really remember the episode numbers as well. So, but we're getting up there. I can't believe we have 30 plus episodes of this podcast out. It's just crazy.
It's great.
It's actually just crazy. Very consistent, man. Yeah, I'm happy to be doing it with you. So yeah,
100%.
As I always say, guys, do the things that make you happy as long as they don't hurt anyone. Let me just throw that in there.
That's right. Right. Do the things that make you happy.
Yep.
And unfortunately, my happiness right now is sadness because what's making me happy is not buying the remakes I want to buy.
I know. I feel so bad for you, but you gotta tough it out. Vote with your dollar, damn it. Don't become part of the problem.
The thing is, they're not even really. There's nothing in the games to really make me want to buy them. So
all right,
I sort of buy them because of what they are, but also I'm like,
yeah. But you're tired of having being sold on nostalgia, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, luckily I already have the games. So
yep, you do have the games.
Literally the same game.
All right, well, guys, enjoy your week. Happy Thanksgiving. We will be recording after this week. We're going to take some time off, so there will not be an episode this coming Thursday because Thursday is literally Thanksgiving, and Thursday is also my birthday. So Thanksgiving this year is actually my birthday. I think every 7 years or something like that, my birthday lands on Thanksgiving Day. So the 25th is normally when we would drop the next episode after this one drops, and we will not be doing that because we will be with our families. But then we will drop another episode, not on the following Monday, but the Thursday after that. So 1 week from 1 week from Thanksgiving, we will drop another episode.
I'll be leaving. I won't be home on Wednesday, like this Wednesday, the 24th. I won't be home.
Yeah,
and I won't be back.
Neither will I.
Yeah, I won't be back home either till the 29th or the 30th.
Yeah, and I literally won't be home. I mean, Wednesday I'm going to another Friendsgiving at Sean McCabe's house, and then on the 25th we're having Thanksgiving with my family, of course, and also celebrating my birthday. And then that weekend is going to be like more stuff with family and also recovery time and stuff like that. And just like, the couple days after Thanksgiving is still a big family aspect for my family and yours.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll be right back the week after. So there'll be an episode on the 2nd of December. Wow, it'll be December when we come back.
Yeah, fun. The thing I'm like most excited for Thanksgiving this year is playing Mario Party. Just like in the basement, getting like some of my cousins together and playing a new Mario Party. It's gonna be sick.
Yeah, I'm excited to play shit like Taboo and things with my family as well. It's really fun. And the way how serious family gets when it comes to games is so funny to me.
It's fucking great.
So yeah, it should be fun. But all right, guys. We're gonna go and peace.
Peace out.